Ladies and gentlemen, listen, let me tell you something. A woman with God, a woman who walks with the Lord, who keeps that faith alive in her heart, is stronger than 1,000 men. Let me break it down for you. We're talking about a power that don't quit, a force that can't be measured by human standards. You see, men, yeah, they might have the muscle, the hustle, the looks, but that woman with God, she got something deeper. She's got a strength that's unshakable. No matter what life throws her way, she stands tall because she's standing on the promises of the Almighty. I don't care how much you bench press, how many degrees you got, how many cars you drive. If you ain't got that divine power, you can be knocked down in a heartbeat. But that woman, she don't get knocked down. She might stumble, but she gets up. And when she gets up, she's stronger than before. See, a woman with God doesn't need to flex her muscles. She don't need to prove herself. She knows who she is. Her strength ain't from the gym. It ain't from the money in her bank. It ain't from the applause she gets. No. Her strength comes from the Most High, and that's a power that you cannot beat. When the world tells her she can't, when the world tells her she's weak, when the world tells her to step aside, she says no. She says, I'm going to walk in my purpose, and nothing can stop me because I know who's walking with me. And that's a woman who will move mountains. You see, it's not just about fighting through adversity. It's about facing it with grace, with wisdom, with the knowledge that no matter what happens, God's got her. You throw 1,000 men at her, all the strength in the world, and they still won't be able to hold a candle to her. Because the strength she carries, it's from a source that will never run out. So don't sleep on her. Don't think she's just some quiet thing in the corner. Nah, she's a force of nature ready to change the world. A woman with God is unstoppable, and that's the truth. When a woman is divinely empowered, she doesn't operate on her own strength. She moves through life with a fire lit by something greater. She doesn't rely on the world's validation or the fleeting applause of people who don't understand her journey. Her strength comes from a deep, unshakable connection with God, a power that transforms her from the inside out. It's not about perfection. It's about surrender. It's about choosing to align her life, her thoughts, her steps with the will of the one who created her. That divine empowerment doesn't make her immune to pain or struggle. Oh no, she'll still face trials, heartbreak, betrayal. But she doesn't face them alone. That's the difference. She walks into every room, every battle, every decision, knowing she carries the authority of heaven within her. This kind of strength doesn't shout to be noticed. It moves quietly, confidently changing atmospheres. Divine empowerment gives her clarity when the world around her is chaos. It gives her peace when anxiety tries to grip her. It gives her courage when fear starts whispering lies in her ear. She's not fearless because she doesn't feel fear. She's fearless because she knows fear doesn't have the final word. Her power is rooted in trust, not control, in prayer, not performance. And when she prays, things shift, walls fall, doors open. She becomes a vessel, not just of survival, but of transformation. She knows that the world may see her as just one person, but with God, she's a warrior, a storm, a force that can't be contained. She doesn't just carry potential, she carries purpose. Divine empowerment isn't about being loud or flashy. It's about walking in a strength that the world can't give and the world can't take away. Resilience beyond measure isn't something that's handed to a woman. It's forged in fire, shaped by seasons of pain, silence, and perseverance. It's built when no one's watching, when she's on her knees, crying out to God in the midnight hour, and still chooses to get up the next morning and keep going. This kind of resilience doesn't come from books or advice or motivational quotes. It comes from surviving what should have broken her and choosing to rise anyway. It's not just about bouncing back. It's about coming back stronger, wiser, and more grounded than before. A woman with resilience beyond measure doesn't wear her scars with shame. She wears them like armor, not because she's proud of the wounds, but because she knows they didn't defeat her. Every time she was told she wasn't enough, every door that slammed in her face, every betrayal, every moment she was overlooked, those were the very things that God used to stretch her, to strengthen her, to build a foundation in her that couldn't be moved. And the beauty of it is, she doesn't even need to shout about her resilience. You see it in how she walks, in how she talks, in how she keeps loving even after being hurt, how she keeps showing up even when her heart is heavy. That's the kind of strength that can't be explained. It can only be witnessed. She understands that storms will come, but she also knows the storm doesn't get to define her. Her resilience is tied to a deep-rooted faith, a knowing that no matter how hard she's hit, she's never alone. God is her anchor, her source, her stability. And with that truth living inside her, she becomes a woman who keeps moving, keeps building, keeps believing, no matter what stands in her way. Unshakable faith is not loud. It's not always about shouting from the rooftops or putting on a perfect face. It's the quiet confidence that no matter what's falling apart around her, she knows who holds it all together. A woman with unshakable faith doesn't pretend storms don't come. She just knows the storm doesn't scare her the same way it used to. She's seen too much, been through too much, and watched God show up time and time again when she had nothing left. Her faith wasn't built in comfort. It was built in the valley, in the moments when the world gave her every reason to quit, but she chose to believe anyway. She doesn't need all the answers. She doesn't always see the whole path laid out in front of her. But she takes the next step because she knows God's already there. Her faith is her foundation, and it holds firm even when life tries to shake it loose. People may doubt her, circumstances may test her, but nothing can convince her that God isn't working behind the scenes. She walks with an inner strength that's not hers alone. It's divine. It's anchored in a relationship, not religion, in trust, not tradition. There's power in the way she prays, power in the way she waits. And even when things don't happen the way she hoped, her faith doesn't crumble, because for her, faith isn't about everything going right. It's about believing God is still good even when it doesn't. She doesn't panic in the face of uncertainty. She leans in. She keeps her peace. And when the world watches her and wonders how she's still standing, the answer is simple. Her roots run deep. Her faith is real, and her hope is set on something eternal. A purpose-driven woman doesn't move through life aimlessly. She's not swayed by every opinion. trend or detour that comes her way because she knows exactly why she's here. Her purpose isn't tied to her title, her status, or her surroundings. It's woven into her identity, anchored in God's calling over her life. She wakes up with intention, not perfection. She understands that each day is a step, a brick laid on the path towards something greater than herself. Her decisions aren't made to please people. They're made to fulfill the assignment she's been given. That kind of clarity doesn't just happen. It comes from time spent in prayer, in quiet surrender, asking not, what do I want to do? But what was I created to do? She doesn't chase purpose, she walks in it. It shows in how she treats others, in how she leads with humility, in how she doesn't settle for anything that doesn't align with what God has spoken over her life. There's power in that focus. There's peace in that direction. While others are exhausted trying to fit in, she finds rest in standing apart. Her journey may not look like anyone else's, and that's the point. Purpose isn't a copy-paste path. It's specific. It's sacred. And she honors that. Even in seasons where she feels unseen, she stays faithful. She doesn't need a spotlight to shine. She knows that when God breathes on her efforts, doors will open that no man can shut. She doesn't panic when progress feels slow because she trusts divine timing. Every setback is a setup, every delay a lesson, every challenge a sharpening tool. A purpose-driven woman doesn't need to be the loudest in the room. Her actions, her discipline, and her relentless faith speak volumes. And she walks forward, eyes fixed on the one who gave her the assignment. Grace under pressure is not about pretending everything's fine when it isn't. It's about standing steady when the weight of life tries to crush her. A woman with grace under pressure doesn't lose herself in the chaos. She breathes through it. She prays through it. She leads herself with calm, even when everything around her feels like it's falling apart. That kind of grace doesn't come from personality or training. It comes from God. It's the kind of calm that doesn't make sense to the world. It's a stillness rooted in trust, a poise born from knowing that pressure doesn't define her, it reveals her. She doesn't lash out. She doesn't run. She leans in, and in the middle of the storm, she speaks peace into the atmosphere just by showing up with strength wrapped in gentleness. She's not numb to the pressure. She feels it, but she doesn't let it control her. While others might be quick to panic or fold, she draws from a deeper well. That well is filled with prayer, with truth, with the unshakable knowledge that God's got her, even when she doesn't have all the answers. People may not see the war she's fighting on the inside, but they see how she carries herself. They see the patience in her tone, the wisdom in her silence, the love in her decisions. That's grace. It doesn't mean the pressure isn't real. It just means she refuses to let it break her character. She doesn't have to prove anything. She lets her spirit do the talking. And when the moment passes, she's still standing, still kind, still powerful, because she's not reacting from emotion. She's responding from a place of strength that was forged in God's presence. That's what makes her unshakable when everything around her demands she fall apart. Fearless leadership in a woman doesn't mean she's never afraid. It means she refuses to let fear dictate her decisions. She steps into rooms where she's underestimated. She speaks up when silence would be easier, and she leads not for applause, but because she's been called to. Her confidence doesn't come from her RA Sume or her followers. It comes from a deep understanding that she was made for this. God placed something in her that won't let her shrink back, even when the path is uncertain or the stakes are high. She leads from the front, but she doesn't need a crown to do it. Her strength isn't loud, it's consistent. She's not afraid to be the first, not afraid to be the only, because she knows she's never alone. Fearless leadership means she shows up when others back down. She carries responsibility not as a burden, but as a privilege, and she understands the weight of her influence. Her leadership is marked by integrity, guided by faith, and empowered by grace. She's bold in her convictions, but gentle in her correction. She doesn't lead to dominate, she leads to uplift. And when things go wrong, she doesn't pass blame. She owns her role, learns the lesson, and keeps moving forward. In moments of pressure, she doesn't crumble, she gets sharper. In moments of uncertainty, she doesn't stall, she listens, prays, and acts. Her leadership is not reactive, it's rooted. She isn't looking for the easiest route, she's pursuing the right one, even if it's costly. And when people follow her, they don't just follow her strategy, they follow her strength, her character, her example. She leads with vision, compassion, and conviction because she knows that leadership isn't about position. It's about purpose. And her purpose is anchored in something far greater than fear. An unbreakable spirit isn't about always being strong. It's about refusing to stay broken. A woman with an unbreakable spirit has faced loss, disappointment, and betrayal, yet she continues to rise. Not because life has been easy, but because her will is grounded in something deeper than circumstance. She may bend, she may cry, she may even stumble, but she does not shatter. Every trial she's endured has only refined her, not destroyed her. She's walked through fire and come out carrying wisdom. She's been in seasons where it felt like no one saw her struggle, but God did. And that's what gave her the strength to keep going. Her spirit can't be measured by outward appearances. It's seen in the way she forgives, even when it hurts, the way she keeps believing when everything says she shouldn't, and the way she holds on to joy like a lifeline. She doesn't let bitterness take root. She doesn't let defeat have the final word. She knows what it feels like to have nothing left but a whisper of hope, and yet she still speaks life into dry places. That's not weakness, that's power. She walks through life with scars, not as evidence of failure, but as proof of survival. There's a calm fire in her, a resilience that turns pain into purpose. She's not driven by revenge or pride. She's fueled by grace and truth. Her spirit cannot be manipulated or crushed because it is anchored in the presence of God. Even when others count her out, she refuses to give up. Even when the world says it's over, she keeps writing her story. An unbreakable spirit isn't loud or boastful. It's steady, faithful, and fiercely alive. It's the kind of strength that only grows stronger under pressure. Wisdom beyond years isn't about how long she's lived. It's about how deeply she listens, how closely she walks with God, and how much she's learned from what life has thrown at her. A woman with this kind of wisdom may not always have the loudest voice in the room, but when she speaks, people listen. Her words carry weight because they come from a place of discernment, not impulse. She doesn't just react, she reflects. She doesn't rush decisions. She seeks clarity through prayer, through patience, through experience. There's a calmness in her, a stillness that says she's been through some things and came out not just stronger, but smarter. She's not moved by trends or noise. She sees beyond what's happening now and recognizes the long game. She knows when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to stay silent. Her wisdom shows in how she handles conflict, not with aggression, but with understanding. She sees past people's actions and senses the pain or fear behind them. That insight isn't something you get from textbooks. It's something you get from being tuned into something higher than yourself. People often come to her for advice, not because she has all the answers, but because she points them toward truth. She's learned that wisdom isn't about knowing everything. It's about knowing where to turn when you don't. Her spirit is teachable, and that's part of why she keeps growing. She doesn't see herself as above correction. She's humble enough to admit when she's wrong, yet confident enough to stand firm when she's right. And through all of this, she carries herself with grace, not arrogance. Her wisdom isn't aged, it's anointed. It's the kind of understanding that turns ordinary moments into divine instruction and everyday choices into lasting impact. Grace in battle doesn't mean she walks through war untouched. It means she walks through it without losing herself. A woman who carries grace in battle doesn't deny the fight. She embraces it, knowing that the strength she carries isn't rooted in anger, but in purpose. She faces opposition with a steady heart and a sharp mind, never forgetting that her character is just as important as the outcome. She doesn't swing wildly or waste her energy on every insult or attack. She picks her battles, and when she fights, she does so with dignity, with strategy, and with God as her defender. Even when she's under pressure, even when her back is against the wall, she doesn't allow bitterness to poison her spirit. She may be fierce, but she's never cruel. She may be wounded, but she never becomes what tried to break her. That's the power of grace. It tempers her fire, not to weaken her, but to refine her. It allows her to correct without condemning, to lead without controlling, and to stand firm without becoming hard-hearted. People may not understand how she remains so composed when everything around her is shaking, but she knows that grace is her greatest weapon. She doesn't fight to be seen or praised. She fights because something sacred is at stake. Her peace, her calling, her integrity. And even when she's exhausted, she doesn't lay down and quit. She kneels, gathers herself in prayer, and rises again, clothed in strength and humility. She knows victory isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like walking away with your soul intact. Sometimes it looks like forgiving when it would be easier to hold a grudge. Grace in battle isn't weakness. It's discipline. It's the choice to win without losing who you are. Impactful influence doesn't require a stage, a spotlight, or a massive following. A woman who walks in this kind of influence knows that true power lies not in how many people know her name, but in how many lives are changed by her presence. She doesn't have to announce her value. Her actions do that for her. The way she carries herself, the way she speaks life into others, the way she lifts people up, When the world tries to pull them down, all of it leaves a mark that lingers long after she's gone. She's intentional, not performative. She doesn't influence to impress. She influences to inspire. Her influence flows from who she is, not just what she does. It's in the way she treats the unseen, the way she encourages the broken, the way she speaks truth with love and authority. Her power doesn't come from volume. It comes from depth, from having walked through the fire and come out with a message. She doesn't manipulate people to follow her. People follow because they trust her, because they sense that what she carries is real. And that's what makes it impactful. She understands the responsibility that comes with her voice, so she doesn't use it carelessly. She builds, she mentors, she pours into others, not for recognition, but because she knows that legacy is more important than popularity. She doesn't need to compete because she's too focused on cultivating purpose. Her influence isn't confined to a platform. It shows up in boardrooms, kitchens, churches, and quiet conversations. She brings excellence to everything she touches, and others rise just by being near her. That's what true influence looks like when people leave her presence more confident, more hopeful, more grounded in who they are. And she does it all without needing the credit, because her impact speaks for itself. So when the world tries to measure strength by noise, titles, or numbers, let it be known, there is a power in a woman who walks with God that cannot be matched. She may not always be seen, but she is always felt. Her presence shifts atmospheres, not because she demands attention, but because she carries the weight of purpose, the fire of faith, and the grace of divine strength. She is not moved by fear, not broken by battle, not silenced by doubt. She is a leader, a warrior, a vessel, fearless, faithful, and full of unshakable resolve. 1,000 men may carry power, but a woman who shares her walk with God carries eternity in her steps. She is the storm, the calm, the bridge, and the fire, and no force on earth can stand against the one who knows who she is and who walks in the authority of the one who sent her.